And boom! Welcome, one and all to the MIRTH Web Show. My name is David Batterina, and for the next hour, I'll be your host through the mayhem and insanity of all things creativity. Definitely some mayhem and insanity. This show exists to help you, the creator, connect with fans, friends, and peers by showcasing not just your work, but your brain, your creative process, and your personality. It also exists because I like to mess with people. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell. We're streaming on Tuesdays and Thursdays, as well as some group shows for occasional Saturdays. Over the next hour, expect some deep conversation, some lighthearted fun, and prying open the creative brain of my somewhat flustered guest. Ophelia, how are you?
I'm good.
Yeah, just like anything, we had some technical difficulties to start. I had them on my end because I was rebooting, and then of course, as soon as you turn something off and on, every single app you've ever had on there decides to update all at the same time. So that's super fun. But we're here. We made it. We're good. How are you this evening? I'm
good.
Flustered?
Yeah, me and technology, we go well together.
Oh, hey, sarcasm. I like it. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go and start with some this or that questions for you, right? So we'll just kind of ease on into it with some easy this one or this one, and get to know you a little bit. We'll go for about a minute or so, and then we'll start. We'll just have a good chat. What do you say? All right, sounds good. All right, so we're going to go for roughly a minute. And the first thing I'm going to ask you is, would you rather travel in a homemade hot air balloon or janky submarine? Submarine. Yes. Team sub. I like it. Polka or death metal?
Death metal.
Death metal it is. Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
Mountains. That works too. Haunted house or enchanted forest?
Haunted house.
Haunted house. Nice. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Cats. Catapult or trebuchet?
Or what?
Trebuchet.
Draw me a picture.
Counterweight. Catapult just kind of throws it. Just choose catapult. You're good.
Okay.
Let's move on to Brussels sprouts or broccoli.
Fire. Death by fire.
Nice. Mind reading or shape shifting?
Mind reading.
I had a feeling. Own a castle or own a tank?
Ooh. Castle. It might be haunted.
I think parking the tank in the castle is like the real winner here. Last one, tea or coffee?
Tea.
Tea? Sweet tea or like crappy tea?
How about like not real tea, but more like tisanes with all the little herbs and things of that nature in it?
There you go. Okay, I'll take it. As long as not green tea. I can't do green tea. It's like putting fresh cut grass in water, and like I don't do it.
Everything gets honey.
Everything gets honey. No, that's good. That's all right. Hey, why'd you pick a janky submarine? Have I convinced you?
I don't do heights. I can do water all day, but no heights.
All right. See, I mean, I should really just call that death by air or death by water.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, trebuchet is clearly superior, but most people don't know it. It's that weird counter message kind of thing. I don't know. Anyway, so we got through some of that, and I just want to give you the floor and have you introduce yourself and just 30 seconds and talk about whatever you want to talk about, something you're working on, or who are you, and all that kind of stuff. You and I have been connected on Twitter for quite some time. Chatting back and forth and stuff like that. So just say hi to everybody and tell them about who you are. So go ahead.
My name that I go by is Ophelia Dickerson. I'm a mom of 4 with an extremely busy home life, and I write all kinds of things. I write under my real name and my pen name. I don't have a specific genre. I write all kinds of things. Yeah, I mean, that's basically.
There you go. If somebody's looking for stuff that you write, where do they find you?
Amazon, easiest place.
Yeah. There you go. And so you write under pen name and real name separately.
Yes.
And pen name is the saucy stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And
yes.
And so off the bat, let me ask you, like, what do you write? What do you tend to write more of?
Saucy.
You write more of the saucy stuff. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's good. So I was really curious to just kind of dig into your creative process, especially because of the whole choose your own adventure thing and all
Hmm.
that, because I just like I'm fascinated by that process and just creatively how that works. And we'll get there. But first, let me just ask you about your process in general, just you putting words down. So when I say creative process, what does that mean to you? Like what comes into mind?
Sitting down, staring at a laptop until something comes onto the paper magically.
It falls out. Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Uh,
I'm
do,
not a planner by any stretch of the imagination, so
okay.
it's yeah,
You're pantsing it.
big time.
Big time. All right. I like it. I like the 100% pantser. Um, what's a typical time of day for you to put your words down? Are you a morning writer? Are you an evening writer? Is it just whenever you say you're busy, 4 kids? Like that's got to be a lot.
Definitely not evening. I discovered very early on that I don't write at night. Otherwise, I do not sleep at night. So
Oh,
it's either morning, which usually I'm still trying to wake up. So I'd say probably more afternoon
hmm,
ish, or day, early evening.
right, right. Do you find that that's just like kind of like a prime creative time in general for you?
Probably the best time when I don't have anybody around. The kids are
Oh,
at school. We're not running sports. So that's pretty much my open time of day.
so you're like an opportunist creator.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Opportunists,
No.
definitely.
I get it. I get it. Actually, it's funny because quite a few people that I've chatted with, they say the same thing. It's like I just if I got 20 minutes, I got to try and throw some words down, and then something else is going to drag me away from it or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
That's what happens. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I imagine, I mean, shuffling the kids around and stuff like that. It's hard to put that down. Do you find it? Um, I mean, at this point, so how long have you been writing for?
I think I published my first book in 2015.
Okay, so
So,
you're coming up on 10 years.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So did you were you always okay, so were you always a pantser? And did you always have this kind of opportunistic writing thing, or has that evolved just as life has changed?
I've pretty much been a pantser. I started with historical fiction.
Oh,
Um, so I had, done research and stuff. I almost did a master's in history at one point.
hmm,
Um, so I was very into history and everything. And so that kind of is where it started. So I'd kind of did some research, if you want to call that planning in any way, shape, or form. And I
sure.
just took bits and pieces of what I was reading and transformed it into my characters and everything. And then a couple of years later, here comes my pen name. And so, I mean, and I've
Yeah.
always written since I've had kids, and I've always worked, and I've always been, I'm not someone who sits idle for long.
Right.
So I'm very much an opportunist writer.
Yeah. And it's been that way.
Yeah.
Um, so do you ever you self-publish your works?
Yes.
Do you put yourself under a deadline? I'm curious. Like, do you have like,
I did early on, and I discovered that was self-destructive.
oh, all right, tell me about that. Like
It was
how?
counterproductive
Okay.
because when I put too much stress and pressure on, usually life erupts into total and complete chaos, and
Yeah,
I stress myself out and I don't get anything done.
right.
So I can't do deadlines very well, otherwise it ends badly.
Right. No, I hear you. For me, I get sometimes it pushes me to just like get it done and go. And I
Mhm,
find that like I can be pretty creative in that time, but it is always stressful. Like when like I have to be done by like X day, like, you
mhm.
know, I'll procrastinate for sure, or whatever. I had at one point I had like a 5,000 word article that I submitted to a magazine, just like international magazine. And the editor was just like, all right, it needs to be on my desk November 1st. Like I wrote it on Halloween, like I just and I'd had like 2 sentences until then. Like I'm like, I started, I had all that, it worked out, like everything was cool, but yeah, definitely like I end up falling into that trap. So like I have to get it going ahead of time more than anything else. Um,
Mhm.
is there something for you where, okay, so as an opportunistic creative, How difficult is it for you to just switch into like creative mode, like jump into your stories and everything else? Like what is that like?
It really like, I cycle through things really bad because not only do I write, I do a lot of other crafts and things like that nature, so sometimes I hit kind of a wall with my writing or life just goes completely off the rails, and so I kinda get off the story for a while.
Hmm,
I think I always have it kinda spinning in the back of my head for the most part,
right.
and then sometimes if I'm gone for too long, I have to go back and reread it from start to finish
Oh yeah.
or the last little bit that I wrote, and then I'm able to pick it up and go as long as it's been kind of fresh. My last one that I've been working on, I kinda hit a brick wall within the last few months, but school started back up. We've had several life changes, and it's just been total berserk, but the last week or 2 or so, I'm slowly easing back into it, so I'm starting to pick up my word count every time I sit down, and
Oh
it's
nice.
starting to roll faster, roll better, and everything, so it's getting there again, but I've been
Right.
kind of in a slump where I've been total creative off the grid with my other things rather than writing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so
So do you do like is your other stuff art oriented? You said it's
oh,
craft.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Is your creative process different for something like that than it is for writing? Less opportunistic or more?
Um, so I do like vendor events and things.
Okay.
And so if I have one coming up, I like hit a thing where I'm like, I gotta create all this stuff. And I'm like, that's really where I put my deadlines and pressure on myself. And then I'm like, oh, I gotta stay up and do this till 12, 1 o'clock at night and then get up at 5. What am I doing? Where's the Red Bull? Let's go. Yeah. That's where it gets rough. And I'm like trying to create all these things and I stress myself out. I probably stress my family out and then I'm
Right.
like, "Oh, at the end of this," I'm like, "Oh, I can take a break. Oh, let's write. I got this great idea now." So
That's good. Yeah, no, I like that you threw in the Red Bull. It's I'll do it.
lately, that's been kind of my legs,
Yeah,
maybe my fingers.
it's been getting you going. Yeah, yeah. Hey, look, sometimes you need a boost. Like I'm a coffee person. Like I need that just like I need the ritual morning, like where it's quiet and I can have my coffee and like this I have cats, like the cats are quiet. Like everything's just kind of, the road noise is lessened. I don't have to work yet. That's just like kind of my time to just not, and it helps me
Mhm.
get through the day. If I do Red Bull, then like, I'll be attached to the ceiling and like, I can see sounds and all that stuff. Um, so you're opportunistic in terms of when you're creating and stuff like that. Do you consider yourself like a spur of the moment creative? Just by, I guess, by force more than
Kind of.
anything, maybe not by choice.
Yeah, 'cause
Yeah.
I pull random things off all over and just I'm like, "Oh, here's a story. Oh, let's do this."
How many
Yeah.
uh how many stories will you have going at one time at any point? Or like what was your max when you had like projects going?
Uh, does it count if I say I didn't count them?
I mean, maybe.
Let's see. Current ones that I could possibly work on at any given point, probably only 2. The one sitting on back burners. Uh,
Oh goodness. You might need two hands.
aside from those 2, at least 3 that I can think of off the top of my head. No, 5 off the top of my head.
Oh, wow.
Most of those are parts of other series that I've started or worked on. 1 or
Right, right.
2 are just their own little things that have popped up and said, "Hey, what about me? Hey."
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right. Do you when you're putting together a story, are you typically plot first, character first? Do you pick out like a scene? How does it work for you? Like just let's say the genesis of an idea to the story's getting down. Like what happens in between?
Um, I would say maybe plot first for the most part.
Mhm.
Because usually I have an idea. Sometimes it's more character possibly. But I'd say generally plot first, usually. Like something will strike me, I'm like, oh, that's a cool story. I should write that. I'm like, okay, well, what are my characters are going to be like and things like that. So,
Right.
but every once in a while, I'm like a certain person or certain instance with a person will strike me, and I'm like, huh, we need this person in a story. What can we do with it?
Right. Right. Do you typically write at home?
Usually I avoid it like the plague.
Why? Okay, so why?
Too many distractions.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
So
when I'm here, there's always laundry, dishes, kids, cats. Something's got to be done. Somebody's going, hey, mom, hey,
yeah,
mom.
yeah. So where then is your writing typically done?
So everything's shifted in the last several months. I did have a little mom and pop shop that I ran.
Oh,
And
nice.
so I'd usually write down there during the day. And it was great. 'Cause sometimes I'd sit down there. There wasn't that many people that come in a lot of days. Sometimes I get busy, but I could jump up and down and pop in and out. But since then, we closed our store down at the end of summer
Hmm.
and I've switched jobs. And so it's been kind of a challenge to figure out when to write, where to write. Because I sit down at home and it's just, nope, too much has got to be done. Haven't been able to separate myself and lock myself. I have a little workshop that's um, maybe a quarter of a mile from the house.
Oh,
And that was my original idea when I closed the store. Hey, this is my spot away from the house where I don't have laundry over my head, dishes, the kids. Well, the kids could come down if they needed to, but it was my spot away from home to lock myself away.
hmm.
That has yet to happen. However, I have found that food is a great motivator.
Oh,
So some days when I don't have to work or I've got half a day of work, sometimes I'll go eat lunch and I'll knock out 500 words. The other day, I was sitting there for about an hour and a half and knocked out 1,300 words. I'm like,
oh,
hey, pizza's a great motivator.
shoot. Yeah, for you know what, for an hour and a half, 1,300 words, pretty good. That's pretty good output. Uh,
Yeah, I was pretty excited about that one.
yeah, go you. That's funny. I mean, it's always like best intentions, but you're not like a coffee shop writer or anything like that. Like,
Almost, but not quite. If
okay,
there was a good, like, coffee shop type setting that I found that was conducive to my writing, it was great. It would be great. But like I said, right now it's a pizza place.
yeah.
Probably not the best idea, but it's working for me, so I can't
Yeah.
complain.
No, look, wherever you can get the words down, like it's enough difficulty just like getting them out,
Mhm.
might as well. Like if you can write wherever, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Laundromat, like that's a place where you could, potentially I've done some editing at the laundromat for sure, just like and stuff like that. Or whatever. I tend to enjoy people watching. So like when I'm writing, I
Mhm.
usually have like that downtime in between some scenes or some dialogue where I'm just like trying to figure out like what exactly should be next or what have you. And that's generally my time to just, look around and like just watch whatever foolishness is going on, in front of me. Like, cause I tend to just enjoy that, and sometimes I get ideas like, oh man, like that dude is like, he's special. Like I got to put that in a story somewhere, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. Like, there's that. Do you have those kinds of influences? Do you have influences from real life people you've met or run into that you're like, is that where you get your inspiration from in a lot of ways?
In a lot of ways, yes.
Yeah, yeah,
I've
yeah.
picked up several characters by people watching and
Nice.
things, so yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's something about being observant like that. So what about scene and setting for you? Is it the same thing, just like places you've been, stuff like that, or is it just generally like pick a place that might fit the story or what have you?
Sometimes, it's places that I've been or I kind of parallel it with places that I've been and change things. Um, some of like my historical fiction and stuff, I've tried to go visit those places so I have a better visual.
Sure.
So, I can see like the trees and the, mountains or flatland and just kind of have a better visual that way. But some of my other things, a lot of it places I've seen, maybe skew it a little bit to fit my purposes,
Sure.
things like that. Some of it I've totally just, made it total BS.
Yeah.
Like the one that I'm working on right now, takes place in Louisiana in the swamp.
Okay.
And so a couple of years ago on spring break, we went down and went to look at the gators and all kinds of stuff like that.
Nice.
And so it's an old mansion. And so I got online and I found some floor plans of some old mansions. And so
Oh,
I'm using the floor plans from the old mansions to try to map out, where they're going and try to get a visual of this
right.
place, things like that. So sometimes I do things like that. And so it's just kind of
Wherever you can pick it from.
wherever, because
Yeah.
like I said, the genres I write are so different and so vast. I use all of it. I do all of it.
Yeah. I've tried like picking out locations on like the Google like Street View and things like that,
Mhm.
like get feeling for certain neighborhoods and places, but it's
Mhm.
not the same. I find that like if I'm there and I'm snapping a couple pictures and stuff like that, and I just have those in the bank, that
Mhm.
I can go to and like, yeah, I remember what that was like. Or you miss things if you're just researching it. Like,
Mhm.
places they smell different, you know,
Yeah.
especially if you're writing something that takes place in like a subway, like, that's
Yeah.
not the sandwich shop.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like stuff like that.
Yeah.
No, but that's pretty cool. Is there was there ever a time where you felt like you were just really like humming along, creating things like writing or creating or all that kind of stuff, were just firing on all cylinders, words are getting out, like it was just consistent and really awesome? Or is it just always a little scattershot for you?
Every once in a while, I can kill a book real fast and just fly through it, and I got beat on the characters, on the plot, and
Yep.
I think the fastest I've ever written a book is probably like 6 to 8 weeks.
Wow. Yeah. Damn.
And then the flip side of that is one of my books probably took me about 6 years to get through.
Oh
So,
goodness.
I mean,
Yeah. I mean, look, you're still faster than George R. R. Martin, so that's cool. Uh, you know, um, 6 weeks though, like my goodness, that's a
I was
pace.
I was killing it. And I think the book ended up 50, 60,000 words.
Holy crap.
So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, it wasn't too bad.
That's some output though, for sure. Um, so what about just in terms of genre type stuff? How different is the process when you're working on historical fiction to working on the saucy stuff?
Historical fiction's basically hitting my head against a rock these days. And the saucy stuff, it's that lewd pirate that's wandering around in my brain that gets loose, and I have to go
Right.
fetch her and pull her back.
Everybody should have a lewd pirate loose in their brain. That's good. So for the historical, it's I mean I would guess, like, is there some kind of specialty, like in terms of like geography, like history, or
So, the historical fiction that I started with was fairly local, kind of. It was the deputies out of Arkansas under the hanging judge, and so
Hmm,
that had kinda pulled me, and so I did, like, Arkansas, Oklahoma type, um, the deputy marshals kinda stuff, and that was the historical fiction
right?
where I kinda started pulling stuff from, and that's kind of like my era of interest is
Hmm,
kind of in that between Civil War and the '20s, Roaring '20s, that kinda section.
oh,
That's
nice.
kinda where my historical interest is kinda pulled, and then it kinda filters over to some of my other stuff, like, Legend of the Sparks. There's a little, like, almost historical fiction type stuff mixed in. Um, there's another one, I can't think of it off the top of my head, where sometimes a little bit of the historical fiction type,
Hmm,
just very loosely used historical stuff gets kinda slipped in a little bit here and there with stuff, so
right, all right, nice. I'm seeing a comment from Philip. Gotta love research trips. There's nothing quite like writing off a trip to the Bigfoot Museum. Exactly. It's research. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll echo this one too. Google Earth helping to get terrain right, but no book will tell you how bad Savannah smells. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something to that. There's places I think it's just often with smell, honestly, just like the ripe odors. I'm like, yeah, I can
Hmm.
write a scene that's taking place in New York City subway. I don't need to go there again. Like I remember. Um,
Yeah. The smell
so
of puke in the French Quarter in New Orleans.
see, I've never been to New Orleans. That's a place that I really want to go. And I had a friend of mine. Now this would have been like, oh shoot, this would have been probably late 90s, like 98, 99, somewhere around there. And he took a trip down there. And the only thing he did was he didn't have like a camera or anything like that, but he had a tape recorder and he just put it in his pocket and he walked down the street and he played some of it back for me. It was pretty wild because like you hear some traffic, but you just heard music and then it would fade out. It would be mixed with another one, and then you'd hear that one, and then that would fade out. It'd be mixed with something because he was walking down just like as bands were playing in different places and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, that's actually just like a really neat way to capture a space. I mean, obviously, Katrina happened after that. I think like it was something like that. Like, you know, it's so I know the place has changed a great deal from when he went there, obviously 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a place you enjoyed visiting that you put in your stories?
So Legend of the Sparks, the setting is kind of loosely based on where we went camping a few years ago.
Okay.
And I kind of altered it a little bit with some of like the smaller town areas that I visited and kind of mishmashed them together. Um, because I'm from a small town, so small town politics and small town way things work. And then I used this little campsite because I know there's some little towns up through there. And so I kind of put that all together in Legend of the Sparks. And that's kind of how I created that one. The whole thing with the Louisiana swamp, what I'm doing right now, I'm fascinated with alligators apparently in the swamp.
Right.
And so when we went down to Louisiana a couple of years ago on spring break, I was actually thinking something. Well, when I came back, I was like, oh, I got this great idea. I want to do this haunted house type thing. And so it kind of started stirring around in my mind a little bit. And so I'm like, I really want to go back to the swamp and go down these areas. And I think that'll really help get the story rolling.
Right.
There was another one, Roaches in the Rent House, was actually a mix smashed. This was another alligator story in the swamp.
Right. Nice.
So we have a rent house, and my brother and his now ex-fiance had lived there for a little while. And after they had all split and left and gone their separate ways, went down there, and there was roaches and all kinds of stuff in there, and it was disgusting. Roaches in the rent house. Somehow that sparked the idea, and we're in a swamp with a black magic woman, and yeah, so there was that. And then so locally we have a trail that's a running trail. It's got like 4 different major trails. It's like 3.5 miles, and it's kind of off to the side of a lake. There's like a land bridge or something, I don't know what you call it.
Right.
And there's years since I was young, there's been rumors of an alligator out there. And only in the last 10 years have pictures started surfacing of this. And so a few years ago, I wrote a murder mystery involving this legendary alligator and a serial killer that was supposed to be out at this trail. Of course, I fictionalized the name and things like that. But as far as kind of like my experiences out there and things like that, and the things that I hear from people, because a lot of the women won't go out there without a dog or a person because they're scared of, the people out there. And so I had actually wrote this story, and it'd come out, and just a few months later, me and my running buddy were out there, and I actually saw the alligator for the first time, and I was like, why couldn't I have see this stupid thing before I published the book. I could have taken a picture. I could have put it in the book. And I've seen it 2 or 3 times since then, of course.
Right.
But it's just this alligator that's been out there for I don't know how many years, and the pictures have just started surfacing in the last, like I said, 10 years or so, something like that.
I'm gonna echo what Philip said right here. It sounds like we need to talk to you about next year's trailer park. Have you seen the It Came from the Trailer Park anthology?
No.
Okay, so this is it's a Three Ravens publishing project, and I did a story for volume 3. Philip's been involved, I think, in like all of them and has stories in them and stuff like that. But it's kind of like a creature feature horror humor, just rednecks fighting supernatural things and like everything else. And as I'm listening to you saying roaches in the rent house, I'm like, oh my God, like this sounds like a story straight out of the trailer park. Don't be surprised if someone is reaching out to you being like, so you want to throw something in the ring for this one, because like it's a super fun, like it's a really, really fun anthology, because it's, if you've seen like Tucker and Dale versus Evil, have you seen that?
No.
Okay,
I don't get out much.
Yeah, no, that's okay. Yeah, I know. It's like the kids and all that. But yeah, it's kind of like this, it's just that. It's redneck horror humor. And you can get like as wild and wacky as you want with it and all that kind of stuff. We've had a lot of fun with that one. That's a good anthology. It ends up being just really popular every year. Go figure. So yeah, don't be surprised if someone's reaching out to you. So what about times where you tend to struggle creatively? And like, okay, we have to talk about this one. When you are struggling creatively, I'm guessing that it's usually just life getting in the way.
Yeah, usually.
Okay. Yeah. So when it's not, and it's just something like creative blocks and things like that, how do you identify that? Do you believe that writer's block is a thing? How do you pull yourself out of the funk?
So I've probably been close to a writer's block lately just because I hit the point in the story where I was stuck here and I needed to get over here and I couldn't figure out how to do that. Yep. And most people are like, well, just put the words. But I'm like, I don't want to just ramble on, because at some point I'm not going to be able to differentiate where to cut this and where to cut that. And it's just going to end up total dumpster fire at some point. And my brain just won't let me spew the words, because I'm like, well, let's see. We did this and we did that. And we stuck some food in the microwave. And
right.
So it's like, okay, we got to figure out something. And so I was thinking about it, and I have a local writers group, but it's gotten very, very small. I haven't been able to go because kids have been in sports forever. And so a lot of times I'll go to my writers group and we'll discuss things. And as long as I'm going, usually the creativity stays pretty good, because we'll, talk about things here. This is doing good. This is, crap, or we need to, tighten up here, this and that. And I usually do a lot better when I'm going to my writers group pretty regularly. But since I haven't been as much and it's kind of shrunk and we've been struggling with it. So I was sitting on it for a while. I let life, okay, we got practice and games 4, 5, 6 nights a week. I'm like, oh yeah, this is chaos we're talking.
Yeah.
And so I finally broke down. I started talking to a couple of my buddies from Twitter and things, and I'm like, would you please read this and like rattle my brain? Just let me brainstorm this so I have something to bounce off of and everything.
Sure. Yeah.
And so they read it, and a couple of them got back to me. I'm like, what about this? What if I did this? What if I did this? And so I thought this was going in this direction. And I'm like, so I probably need to clarify that. Well, if I do that, I need to fix this over here, but we can go ahead and move on with this. And so this is why the words are finally starting to roll again, because I had this like brainstorm kind of thing with some other writers. And I'm like, okay, I think we're on the roll again.
Yeah, life
so
of a
that kind of helped.
That's Pan's life right there.
Oh, yeah. Otherwise, sometimes it's just a couple of days. I go for a walk, go for a run, get out and especially if it's one of my swamp stories, I go out to my trail and go walk and go off on the little side trails that are kind of just walking paths through the leaves or whatever, and try not to step on snakes and that kind of thing. And that helps a lot of times. Sometimes I'm like, okay, we're going to set this off to the side. We're going to go do our other creative, crafty things, because once we get deep into that, the words are going to come. I know it every time. As soon as we get big projects going over there, I'm be ready to write.
It's almost like your brain needs something to just juggle over here to be able to think clearly and let the let the damn brain.
Just kind of like goes through these cycles.
Yeah. No, and you know what? That's the life of a creative, really. I mean, so there's that. That's pretty funny. Yeah. What about well, so you have other creative projects. You can use those to kind of pull you out of like a writing funk, so to speak. Part of that is just being the pantser, obviously, because you tend to be a little bit more disorganized on your thoughts and things like that. Just, it's like those people that can outline and do all that. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
but like the outline's kind of it's a gag for me. Like I can't, I have like a very, very loose structure that I keep to as I go through. And by the time I'm done writing whatever I'm writing, how that structure started is not anything like the end of it works, So let me ask you about choose your own adventure, especially as somebody whose pants life needs to be a MIRTH t-shirt. Oh, that's good. Yeah, so I'm really curious about this one, because I remember on Twitter, and you're like, I'm gonna do this. Like, you had posted something about it, like, why not? Multiple endings and stuff like that. So let me just ask you, just from a technical standpoint, what is the process of creating something that's a book and a cohesive story where you've got multiple endings? And did you do like the jump to this page, jump to that page type of thing?
Yep.
Oh shoot! All right.
It wasn't that until the formatting got there.
Oh yeah. I can see that. So just tell me about tell me about the idea just generally of like, why did you want to do that, and what was the process like to create the thing?
So it started when my kids were on. So the last few years, I've really gotten into like satire, like fairy tale story retellings and things like that. And I'm like, one of these days, I'm going to do like a retelling or a remix kind of satire or something like that. And I was kind of bouncing some ideas around. Well, at the time, my kids were on a Despicable Me Minion kick.
Okay.
And so I'm like, that's close enough, right? That's close enough to a fairy tale and, remix kind of stuff. We've done all kinds of things, from Beauty and the Beast and Robin Hood and just, all these ones. And I'm like, I'm doing Minions. And then I'm like, well, how are we going to do this? Somehow it turned into Sexy Minions. I'm not sure how we got from, fart guns and purple things that were indestructible to Sexy Minions, but we did.
We got to Sexy Minions. All right. All right.
And the great thing about a choose your own adventure is you don't have to decide which way to take the story. You can take it every which direction you want.
I just realized that a split second before you said that. I'm like, wait a second. Like, all those endings I was thinking of could be applicable.
Exactly. And like the story that I've been stuck on, instead of thinking, well, should I take it this way or this way? Yes, you can write it this way and this way and this way and this way and this way. So it was not that bad. And actually, I wrote it very quickly. It was, so at some point so when I was writing it, I think when I started at the whole, and then I split off in two, and then I took this one and I split it off in two, and I split it off in two over here. And like, I would go through one storyline, and when I'd split, I'd take one and then I'd go back and finish the other side. And then
she's in the other room. That's my girl. She's in the other room listening, and she's like, "Did you hear Sexy Minions? Is that what happened?" Well, I know what I'm going to be for Halloween. Overalls and some yellow paint. Oh my goodness. All right, so go ahead. I'm sorry. So
That's okay.
up and yep.
And so I was just, I take it and go through, and like I said, it was not bad until the formatting got there, and trying to embed the links and to be able to make it jump here and there.
Right.
And then I'm like, okay, you got to format it. And so I'm like, okay, we got to figure out where this one. So I started like, when I would go, I'd try to, instead of a chapter heading, it'd be like A1 or A2 or A3. And I was having to scribble this all down. And I can't tell you how many times I went through this and scribbled notes. Okay, A2 goes to A4 to A6 to A,
Oh my goodness.
and that kind of thing. So that was the nightmare of that whole thing. Otherwise, it was super easy and super fun to write. And so I'm like, because you have your basic characters. You have Lucy, you have Gru, you have Dr. Nefario, and then we did Stuart, Kevin, and Bob.
Oh, this is brilliant.
I kind of worked on the minions a little bit. Like Stuart, Bob, and Kevin kept their names. Gru turned into Grayson.
Okay.
Lucy was Luna/Lucy. And then Dr. Nefario was something close to that, and I can't even think of his name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And
he's like, I'm just washing dishes straight over there, minding my own business, and y'all hit me with choosing your own adventures, sexy minions. Oh, yay. Yeah. This is really fascinating. So okay. So you're splitting the story off. How many branches did you end up with by the time this was all done?
Not that many. Shoot, I could go grab the book real quick and tell you, but I can't tell you off the top of my head.
That's all right.
I'm wanting to say one side may have gone up to, let's see. In the end, I think I ended up with 15 different endings.
Wow.
Maybe it wasn't anything super huge.
Was this your 15 phases? Was that the one?
Was it what?
The 15 phases was the title?
Yes, 15 phases of Luna. So yes, it did have 15 endings, and that was the phases was the 15 endings.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just the minion talk. Do you get whatever your sex means? If so, go to page 16. Oh my gosh. I used to love those books, and I never in my life thought that I'd be talking to somebody and we'd be talking about sexy minion choose your own adventure. But I am like totally here for it. That's fantastic. So the idea happened, and you're like, all right, like cool. This story could go here or here. I'm gonna write here. I'm gonna write here. So you're writing out of order. And obviously, because you've got to backtrack and finish off like other branches and everything else. Was that difficult? Like just to keep track of everything? 69 different story options.
That was an idea, but I was afraid of being too redundant at that point.
Feeling you degenerates in the chat would be on this one. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. So you're writing out of order and all that kind of stuff. But you said like the writing pretty much flowed like it was pretty easy to get the story out.
Yeah.
Do you know what your word count ended up on with this one?
I'm wanting to say it was 50-ish thousand, maybe.
That's sturdy.
Let me see. I could look it up real fast, maybe.
Because those old, sword and sorcery, non-sexy minion choose your own adventure books were like they were usually like a day or two.
Tiny.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot of meat on those bones. Yeah.
51,000.
51,000. All right, 51,000 of various minion adventures. Was it hard to watch Despicable Me after you wrote this, or like?
The good thing is usually I just listen to it as background noise. So for the first while I'm watching and listening, I'm like, oh, that's something I forgot. I gotta work that in there, and here I can totally take this over here, and and so
for the record, the book is not a kid's book. You did not write a kid's book. No.
And I'm like, are we watching Minions tonight?
Right.
I need some ideas, guys.
That's fantastic.
I'm like, wait, what happened? Which one was this? When
Put
did
on the
they
one
meet?
with the,
And then who did we have over here?
yeah. Get the one on with the 80s guy or the squid launcher or whatever.
Yeah.
It's been a little while since I've seen some of those. They're funny movies though. All right. So wow, like I don't even know what to ask next. So let me ask you this, because somebody had mentioned it earlier in the chat, and it was just in terms of reception for um, for like erotic and like criticism on that. Um, and I think it was basically like, you know, those books will sell, but like you'll have angry people like over it. Do you tend to get do you get criticism on these, or like in terms of the reviews or anything else? Do you find like there's pushback for that style?
I wouldn't know. Nobody ever reads my books.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
No, I mean, I've heard pushback on others, and I mean, there's a reason I have my pen name, because you don't see me, you don't read me, because we're not having these discussions, and
Yeah, for
you
sure.
know, so I mean, there's a certain amount, but I haven't had any real personal dealings with it, I guess you could say.
What about just in general on your writing, whether it's the historical or what have you, like, you know, poor reviews or anything like that? Like, how would you generally handle criticism? Like, how do you handle it generally just in life?
I mean, if it's constructively done, that's great. Depending on where it's coming from is how hard I take it.
Right.
I'm like, if it's, my writing, early on, I didn't take it very well. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that hurt my heart so bad.
Yeah.
And now I'm just kind of like, okay, here's what we got to do. Let's work on this. And let me rethink this. Okay. All right. These guys don't know what they're talking about. Or, okay, I got this now. That's the key that I was missing before. And so typically, if it's done constructively, I can work off of it. If it's just, you suck, I'm like, okay, whatever.
Right.
Obviously,
Right.
that wasn't your cup of tea. So let's move on.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, it's funny. I guess I expected different answers from, you know, like this is our 9th episode at this point. And I kind of expected different answers, but I think for the most part, everybody that I've talked to were able to put the criticism in its appropriate place. You know, like, yeah, like a poor review sucks when somebody doesn't like your stuff. Like it's not like a great feeling. But at the same time, it's like, all right, like step back. And is this something that like, if I make corrections, like, is this going to help me or serve me? Or is just like a drive-by douchebag, basically,
Yeah.
you know, or what have you. And I think putting that in its proper place, it keeps you better up here for sure. You know, and it keeps you writing and all those things. And of course, Phil, like you had to go there with it. It's so fluffy. Like you had to, you had to go. Oh, this is the best ever. I love it. Yeah. And so, do you do beta readers for your work?
Yes.
Yeah. What's that process like for you? Is it basically like, all right, hear me out, sexy minions, choose your own adventure, off we go?
That one wasn't too bad to find beta readers for, honestly.
Not
I just
surprised.
said, hey, smut writers, where you at? I need help. Who wants to read some kinky stuff? And one of the hardest things I think for that was the diversity and trying to keep it, something. And so some of the times I'm watching my other smut writers and like their tropes and like their different kinks and things like that. And I'm like, that's one I haven't done. I need to put this in here. Google, what the heck is this even?
Oh gosh. Oh man.
Here, let's see. There's no kids. I probably should watch about 5 minutes of porn and try to figure out how the heck this has even worked. What does this even mean?
What the frick does your search history look like? Oh my
oh gosh. Especially during this time, because I'm trying to, like I said, make it diverse, change it up, try to keep it from being my normal stuff. And so some of them I'm like, hey, you write this kind of stuff. Will you read like this section of the story over here to make sure it even sounds right? Like, and so some of that, but I had a couple of really good beta readers on that one. And so that was helpful. And they're like, different things. But like I said, the biggest thing on that one was just diversifying. And some of them were like, I think I got lost, or I've got through this many. And,
Right.
like, and that was my biggest struggle, probably, is trying to keep it diverse and not, by the time you reread it 16, 15 times,
Right.
not be like,
Yeah.
And it's kind of like one of those things where you almost go back and it's like a short story type read each
Okay.
time.
Yep.
Today we're going to go read this kink and we're going to mark it off. And then we're going to go read a different book. And this time we're going to come back and read and go down this other path, and this is the kind of the idea that I had behind it when I wrote it, as like a series of short stories, almost not to be read like a normal start to finish novel.
Right. Not quite an anthology, but not quite a start to finish type of thing. Yeah. Well, I'm sure, if you want to hop on the Discord, if you're ever doing like, a Finding Nemo sexy fish thing, like people would be able to read, like you'll get all the volunteers for the wacky one that we hang out with, for sure. So let me ask you this one, and I want to do some pitch storm with you because I'm really curious as to what you're going to come up with on those. So if there's anything you could change about how you work creatively, I mean, obviously, like more time and more set time and getting to the little, like your writing hut a quarter mile away would be great. But like without the time thing, just in terms of how you work, would you change anything?
Almost yes, almost no. I mean, it works for me.
Yeah.
It would help if I was a little bit more structured, maybe.
Okay.
Like one of the ladies in my writers group, she's like, okay, we're going to sit down. We got this time. We're going to do this many words. We got this time. We're going to edit. We're going to come over here and do this over here. And she's got it all plotted out and lined out. And I'm over here like, hey, look, I wrote 300 words today. And I'm not going to write for 3 more months. And here we are. Oh, hey. And all of a sudden we got this novel. I'm like, oh, it's finally done. We got to edit and get it out. Let's go. And I make this huge push. And then, so it's like very on and off and just kind of scattered. I'm like, I would like to be more structured, maybe. Maybe some of the things would probably turn out better if I like plotted a little bit. Maybe a little bit more structured, but it doesn't work for me.
Right.
Even though it sounds like it should and work, it'd be great.
Right.
But it doesn't.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Honestly, I typically write like in a very similar way where it's like one day, okay, like 2,500 words fell out. The next day, if I had the time, maybe another 2,000, 3,000 words will come out. But then I'm like, all right, I'm not going to, like, it's going to be about 30 days before I write again. Going on. And I'm like, well, like, I'll take it when it happens. Like, that's fine. I'm just happy to make the progress. It's tough to get to, at least you know how you work creatively. And I think that's the most important thing is like, all right, I've got a creative process. I'm good with it. Like, yeah, there's some things that I would change, but I'm good with it. Well, hey, you want to have a little bit of fun with Pitch Storm? Let's do that.
Sure.
It's whatever. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fun. We're going to enjoy. You can add sexy minions if you want. Like, it doesn't matter. All right. So let me give the intro to the game. I actually got the wheel working today too, which was good. All right, here we go. Next up, we're going to play some Pitch Storm. This little exercise provides us a live, real-time look into our guest's creative brain. This is a fully random event, no hints, no notes, no heads-ups. This is all about creation in real time, neurons firing at a randomized prompt to create something from absolutely nothing at this very moment. Guests are given a random character and random plot, must pitch these 2 things as a story, as detailed as your heart desires. Once the 30-second pitch is expired, you get 2 random wrinkles thrown in, and you must re-pitch the story with the random wrinkles included. So we'll rate the pitch after that. Heckling, I'm sure, like you guys are there. That's fine. And let's see. I'll give you 2 mulligans. So 2 respins. Just don't use them back to back. And if you use one, you're stuck with whatever happens next. So use them wisely. Let me go ahead and bring up the wheel of doom. All right, so we've got a characters A, characters B. There's no difference. It's just 2 different sets of characters, but they're all fully randomized. Same thing with plots. And then the wrinkles, we've got A wrinkles and B wrinkles. Again, everything is fully randomized, and there are well over 4.2 something billion combinations that we could possibly have. So we're going to create something from absolutely nothing that has never existed before. I'm very excited. you want to go with characters A or characters B to start?
Let's go with B.
Let's go with B. All right. Here we go. I'm not sure if there's minions in here, but there might be. I'm just a group of teens tasked with protecting the world. All right.
Oh boy.
Pretty good start. Plots A or plots B?
Let's go with A.
Let's go with A. All right. Here we go. Do. Struggling to pay for all the damage they caused the city during a recent adventure. Okay. Bunch of teens trying to protect the world, wrecked a whole bunch of stuff. You want to stick with it?
Sure.
All right. Give me 30 seconds of a story and let's see what happens. Go for it.
I'm thinking Power Rangers and Scooby-Doo mashed up somehow.
All right.
Because we've been chasing down the bad guys that are dressed like ghosts and terrorizing the things. And of course, they're Shaggy and Scooby that tear everything up. And then the Power Rangers are like the actual ones that pretend to kick butt and everything. And they have stupid suits and masks, but everybody knows who they are anyway.
Right. So what's the crux of the story? What are they trying to do?
Saving the world. So government conspiracy.
I like it.
Something of that nature. So yeah.
Perfect. Well, let's add a plot wrinkle and then see you tap dance your way around that one, right? So let's go with. Do you want to go with an A or a B on this one?
Let's go B.
Let's go B. All right. Group of teens, Scooby-Doo looking, trying to save the world, wrecked the city, and let's add. What if every character was a hitman? All right. What do you got?
Now we're going to Mr. and Mrs. Smith kind of version of everybody. Nobody really knows who each other are, and maybe we're mistaking identities and shooting at each other instead. And we don't want to open the closet doors because there might be a little something going on in there.
I knew it was going to take a turn at some point. I knew it. Older teens. These are older teens.
Absolutely. 18, 19.
18, 19. Great.
We don't do the little kid stuff.
Let's add a wrinkle and then give me the resolution to this story. All right, everyone's a hitman. Older teen Scooby Gang. Don't look in the closet. Let's make it a crossover with some Marvel characters. All right. Yeah. Well, honestly,
this is going to be the respin thing. I'm terrible with Marvel.
All right. Perfect. Yeah. That's all right. Let's do it. That is literally the plot to one of their movies. They wreck the city and then they have like that. Yeah, that whole thing. Let's see. Hear me out. This entire thing takes place in an escape room. Oh boy. All right. So what do you think?
Everybody does fantasy football. Why not fantasy hitman saving the world stuff? Like
in an escape room.
Yeah. Once again, do not open closets or close doors.
They want to be stuck in there for a while. It's okay. Yeah. Well, how do we get to
timer on this, right?
It's timer-ish. Like, how do we get to a resolution on this thing? What's our big ending?
Last man standing gets out. Everybody else gets killed.
Okay. I'm gonna say it's probably the hound dog that's like the last one out.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah. Here we go. And we have a title. Thank you, Philip, for 50 Shades of Scooby. That's not nightmare fuel.
Doggy style, I mean.
That is really something. I had it's funny. I had a gift that I bought somebody a while back, and it was a cookbook, and it was all how to prepare foods for male chickens. like male chickens, and it was 50 Ways to Eat Cock was the name of the book.
You can get
it on Amazon, and it's literally just like a cookbook with the best title ever. And so yeah, I ended up getting that, and it was a Yankee Swap, and I thought it was just adults there, but then kids started going up to get some of the gifts, and I'm like, all right, can we just make sure that your son, who's like 8, doesn't pick up that book? You know, that would be that's good. Good times. All right, let's try another one. Let's go. Which one did you go with last time? A or B? I forget.
I think I started with B.
All right, let's spin an A. Let's try and get another wacky story out of this. We're gonna go with a video game villain that wants to be a good guy. All right, like a Wreck-It Ralph. I mean, you can like that's close to Minions. I'm just saying. All right, A or B on the plots.
Let's go B this time.
Let's go B. Yeah, I'm gonna wreck it. Just takes on a whole new meaning. Trying to save the world from a zombie apocalypse. All right. Video game villain that just wants to be a good guy is trying to save the world somehow from the zombie apocalypse. And all right, give me a pitch on this one. What do you think?
I'm thinking Megamind kind of villain. Because he was really trying to be a good guy in the end because he just enjoyed fighting the bad guys. And so then he fell in love with girls. So in this case, with the zombie apocalypse, oh gosh, zombies are not my forte.
We can respin it. You want to respin that one? Sexy zombies.
Yeah. Let's respin that one because zombies and video games are definitely not my forte. But
all right. No, fair enough. Let's see what we get on this one. Let's go. All right, we're gonna stick with a video game character because I think that's a good one. Battling an addiction to prescription drugs.
Wow, that's like every teen novel ever.
that escalated. All right, video game villain that wants to be a good guy is battling his prescription drug addiction. I'm not really sure how that would work, but let's see what you can come up with. Right, go for it.
Oh gosh, I think I should have stuck with the zombies.
You can go with that. That's fine. I'll give you the option.
Let's see. Video game. So, oh gosh.
We need something for him to do. Like, what can his goal be here while he battles prescription drugs? And like, which one? Tylenol? Like some kind of it's not prescription, but you know what I mean. His albuterol inhaler addiction.
Viagra.
There you go. Now we're getting somewhere. All right, battling his addiction to Viagra. He really is gonna wreck it.
Yep. Yeah. That's his new goal is keep from wrecking. And so he's got to lay off the drugs because every he's trying to be a good guy because he's the villain because he wrecks.
So let's go here. Let's answer one question. Why would he be trying to be a good guy? Is he trying to get the girl and oh my god with Viagra addiction? Or is he trying to save the world, which is also oh my god the Viagra addiction? So like yeah.
Because after girls their one-time use after he wrecks them, so he needs more than a one-time use.
Or is he just trying to be like a carnival game where you got to do a ring toss and like he's fine? All right, so let's add a wrinkle to this and see what we can. Let's see what happens. This is going to be entertaining, I'm sure. Let's throw some notes on it. And we're going to go with what if the main character had superpowers from eating Taco Bell at the same time? Okay. So we've got video game guy trying to be good, trying to get the girl, I guess. And he's got his Viagra addiction and he eats Taco Bell. Boy, what kind of superpower would that be? Oh, man. He's wrecking the bathroom. He is going to wreck it. That's exactly what he's going to wreck. Oh boy.
Maybe it counters the effects of the Viagra.
It could be. Yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah, I
bathrooms
mean,
enough to deter anybody away, but
yeah, that actually tracks pretty well. Yep, yeah, I'll go with that. You know what? Just let's have some fun. Let's throw in one more wrinkle and see like what the story could possibly be here. Oh my goodness gracious. We are ending up with let's make it a hip hop musical like Hamilton. Oh wow. I
Must be
mean,
18 or older to enter. Please show ID at the door.
yeah, for sure. Listen, I'm just gonna say if this musical came through town, I would be first in line to throw my money and get in to see what what that would end up being like. That is really something. Your video game character able to, yeah, see, this is exactly what I was expecting. Able to destroy bathrooms with a with a single burrito.
Don't mistake the burrito.
Yeah, Taco Hell, of
Burritos
course.
mixed up.
Oh man. Wow. All right. I don't even know where we could go with that story, but like I'm just glad to run through that with you and gag about all this stuff because that's a blast. Well, hopefully you got some ideas out of this, right? Like,
Don't mix up the burritos.
right. And listen, if you need a beta reader for this story, I am first in line. I'm just saying. Um, as somebody that can definitely yeah, I would read that. I would read that for sure. Oh my gosh, Ophelia, thank you for for all this kind of stuff. This has been a very enlightening conversation. His kryptonite is Mountain Dew Baja Blast. I've still never had. I've never tasted it. I hear it's good. It's
I
been
think I've
like
tasted it. It's okay.
I don't know. The last time I had Taco Bell, it's at least been like a decade. I don't remember. Oh, there's a place, there's a chain in like the Midwest called Taco John's,
Yeah,
which is
because
like 100% better. I love Taco John's because they got those little like the little crispy hash browns and all that stuff. Taco Bell, no, I get like it's those days for me are long gone where I could stomach something like that. My goodness gracious. So anyway, we'll wrap up. I know you're busy too and and all that. So let me
I gotta go get Taco Bell.
you gotta go get some Taco Bell. Nice. You gotta get some writing down. I want to see this story. So I'm gonna give you just the floor is yours and just tell everybody once again like where we can find you and all that kind of stuff, what you're working on, what you got, and all that. So go for it.
All right. So most of my stuff can be found on Amazon. Um, under Ophelia Dickerson. There's a handful of things. I'm on Twitter. Um, that's basically my only real output or out
Social media
whatever
wise.
the heck. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, as far as what I'm working on, so I had my Camo Heel series, and I'm kind of working on a little bit of a spin-off of that. It's kind of the post diary of the main character because I kept thinking of stories afterward. And
Nice.
so I've kind of done it's basically like a string of short stories put in almost like a diary type work kind of thing. That's just kind of all over the board and just random things. And then there's another story I might get to one of these days that's been rattling around in my head for about 2 years. Time travel. And then I have my other stuff that I'm working on under my real name. And for once, I have more that I'm working on under that name. So my swamp alligator story, haunted house thing that I've got actually started out was going to be under my pen name. And then my 14-year-old kind of caught wind of what I was writing. And so now I'm writing it under my real name. So I'm having to keep it clean. And that's kind of part of my brain block going on.
Yeah.
So right now I'm kind of over in my real name with occasionally dabbling in my pen name stuff, working on the side project of the main character of the Camo Hill series. And yeah, that's kind of about it, I guess.
Right. No, that's good. That's all right. Well, and you're on the Discord. You pop in from time
Mhm.
to time on our Earthquake Discord and all that. I'm gonna need to give this one a quick read though. And let's go. Let's go. Will Taco Ralph win over Princess Pepto? Will he kick the tripping Viagra addiction? Find out on the next episode of Fast Food Heroes. There you go. I like it. Jesse, that's a winner. Well, thank you very much, and really appreciate your time and the conversation. This has been a blast, and so I'll see you on Twitter and all the things and all that kind of stuff. Don't be a stranger for sure. And if you feel like writing some freaky trailer park stuff, like we got you. Like we got you. I am so down to beta read for you because I think it'd be just a total blast. So let me go ahead and wrap this up real quick, and we'll go boom. Folks, thank you for tuning in and spending some time with us tonight. Special thanks to Ophelia for being a great sport and a wonderful guest. Highly encourage you to check out all of her work. Links to all the things are in the description of the video on YouTube and Rumble. If you would be interested in being part of the Mirthquake community and as a guest on the show, it's easy. Head over to mirthquake.show for all the details, and hopefully soon we will be prying open your brain and throwing it out on the internet for everyone to see and all that. So once again, thank you very, very much. Everyone in chat, you guys are fantastic. That was a blast and I appreciate it. So Ophelia, stick around for just a minute. I'm going to close this out and I'll see you in the green room for just a minute before just say goodbye and all that kind of stuff. Right.
Sure.
So everybody, thank you very, very much. Really glad that you joined us, and I will be back on Tuesday. No, we don't have a Saturday show this week, but Tuesday we'll be back on there, and look for there's clips and all that kind of stuff of the show coming out. And Ophelia, I'm sure there's going to be some clips from this one that are going to be going out too. That's all right. Good night, everybody, and I'll catch you on the next one. All right.